Okay, so method number 2 uses something called strip silence. The first thing I'm going to do is hide these 3 tracks, tracks 2, 3 and 4, because I might come back to them, but I just don't want to see them for now. So turn hiding on, select the tracks I want to hide, and then click the hiding button again, and I can't see them anymore. Alright, back to the bin. I'm going to bring that Black Betty 3 1-bar selection or region audio file back onto the project. Same as before, I need to set the project tempo. Okay, so we did that previously. That should be easy for you now. Local audio menu, strip silence, which brings up this window. Okay, now in here, essentially the approach is you experiment with threshold settings until it detects silence in such a way that it's going to divide up the one region into many regions. Okay, so these boxes that you can see here that have been created as I adjust the threshold are the regions that will be created. I've also adjusted here the post-release time to make sure that each region goes all the way up to the start of the next region. That's the post-release time here. Okay, I'm going to click OK, and my one region has now become 15. Okay, so what's useful about that? Well, I could, for example, quantize that now that they're individual regions. I would need to go to the list editor. That's the event list. Make sure the event tab is selected. Go back up a level, and there I can see my regions that are selected on the arrange area highlighted, and then I can choose a quantize value, and the timing of those regions shifts, as you can see here, and they're now quantized. Let's have a listen. In fact, let's mute AC/DC. Okay, and I can also adjust tempo, and obviously because they're individual regions, that will have it'll sound like the drum loop's changed its tempo. Okay, so I'm back to the original tempo of Back in Black. Alright, why don't I just copy, option drag those to copy, so I've got 2 lots, 2 bars worth of that 1-bar loop. You can hear the gaps in between the regions now the tempo's been slowed down. Not necessarily a nice thing. You're going to get some audio clicking. So what I'm doing here is resizing all the regions together so they're overlapping each other. Now let's have a listen to that and see whether that sounds any good. Now I'm getting some flamming there. I don't really like that, so I'm going to Command Z undo that. It is a bit of an awkward method, this one. The main advantage is that you've created separate audio regions for each of those drum hits and can then use those independently in your project. For time stretching purposes, for quantization purposes, maybe not the most elegant solution. Alright, so let's move on to the next solution. I'm going to mute that one. In fact, perhaps I should hide it along with the others. There we go. Alright, create a new audio track for my third alternative. Go to the bin, drag on a 1-bar loop, reset the tempo. Just did that a bit quickly, but it worked out okay because I knew it was a 1-bar loop, and I set the cycle area to 1 bar, even though they didn't actually line up in terms of where they started. So that's worked out fine. Alright, so method number 3 is uses flex time, a flex mode, and I'm going to use the slicing mode. Alright, so this is a track parameter, so I'm opening the track parameters there, make sure I've got the correct track selected. Turn on flex mode by choosing, in this case, slicing. Alright, let's have a look at the transient detection that's happened there. Let's zoom a little bit. There we are. So we can see some transients have been detected. Once I've done that, of course, I can then directly quantize the region, and immediately you can see some time compression and expansion has taken place there. Let's have a listen. Oh yeah, it's far more satisfactory than the methods we've previously used. I guess we should also look at method number 4 alongside this one, so we can compare the two. Method number 4 is essentially the same. Just going to drag on yet another copy of the 1-bar loop, but instead of using slicing mode for this track, I'm going to use rhythmic flex mode. Okay, I'm going to do the same quantization, and you can see that actually, let's zoom that slightly. Can you see the results are slightly different? Here there's a gap. I'll zoom in on that so you can see that slicing mode is not, as I understand it, stretching the contents between transient markers in the same way that rhythmic flex mode is. Okay, you can see that fills up the whole of the space between the two transient markers. What would be useful though is to listen to the difference between the two. Now this is just simply quantization at the moment. So here's rhythmic flex mode versus slicing. Okay, well I know which one of those two I prefer. Let's reset the tempo. Back to the master tempo of this project, and let's compare the two. So here's slicing versus rhythmic flex. Okay, and for further comparison, note that you can directly time stretch the whole region by going to the top right hand corner of a flexed region, and you get this tool here, and you can simply drag it. Let's do that to both. So we're going to slow them down by 50% here. So firstly, slicing mode, versus rhythmic flex mode. Now, sounds to me like rhythmic flex mode might have the edge on slicing for that particular function. But obviously, it's, at the end of the day, it's down to your ears to decide